Hi everyone, today's video is going to be on a green halo smoky eye inspired by the picture shown. My model for today's video is the lovely Naptote. So we're just going to start off by priming the eyelids, and we're going to be using the Too Faced Born This Way concealer in the shade Natural Beige. And we're just going to blend it out by using a Real Techniques beauty sponge. And after we've blended that, we're going to go in with the Morphe 35O palette, and we're going to use a fluffy brush and put a few transition shades through the crease. I really like this palette because you're able to create a variety of looks. It's really versatile since it has a great range of colors. You're able to create more natural looks as well as more dramatic ones. So we're just going to keep blending the transition shades through the crease, which this is a very important step because this is what will lay the base down for the next shadows that we put. For the next step, we're going to pick a deeper brown shade and start mapping out the halo eye. We're going to focus this color on the inner and outer corners, as well as right above the center of the eye. Here I'm using a denser brush in order to deposit the color. It's a little bit smaller, so it is a little bit more precise as well. Putting down this base shadow will make sure that the colors that we put on afterwards are evenly blended. Once we're done that, we're just going to go back in with that fluffy brush and put the transition color over top just to blend everything out again. Next, we're going to go in with a denser brush, and we're going to go in with a emerald green color, and we're going to start by depositing that on the outer third. As you can see, the brushes that we were using before are quite larger than the one that we're using now. So whenever you're trying to define the crease, always use a smaller brush, versus when you're doing transitional shades or just blending out the crease, always use a fluffier brush. So we're just adding that emerald green to the outer third and the inner third, and then we're going to go above the ball of the eye and put some color there as well, but making sure to leave the center free of product. The next step will be to get a flat brush and apply some Fix Plus and pick up that same shade and just deepen the areas that we applied that shadow to. Doing this will just intensify the look even more and will really make that green pop. Using that smaller condensed brush that we used earlier, we're going to go in with a matte brown to really diffuse the edges of the shadow. Now we're going to use a olive green shade in the center of the lid using that flat brush again. And this is what will create that halo eye. So far everything has been nicely blended, but even where the light green and the dark green meet should be evenly blended. And in order to do so, you can go in with a flat brush or a smaller condensed detailed brush in order to just blend everything together. And for any fallout that happens, just wipe it away with a makeup wipe. It's always a good idea to do the base makeup afterwards, just to avoid any mess. With the Maybelline Eye Studio Gel Eyeliner, we're just going to define the upper lash line a little bit with a eyeliner brush from Morphe. So at this point, we are curling the eyelashes, applying some mascara by Too Faced, and some false lashes. They're a nice wispy lash, they're kind of flared out on the end, so it will really create a nice cat eye effect as well. And this is my fave lash glue. It's the Duo Lash Glue. I like that it dries clear, so even if you end up, getting it anywhere like on the eyelid by accident, it won't leave a black mark. So that is the eyes finished. You're able to go over the lash band with some eyeliner again if you want to conceal it more. Moving on to the face, we're going to start off with the Cover FX mattifying primer and apply that all over the face. Of course, prior to this, I did wash my hands with soap and warm water. Using MAC's Studio Fix Fluid Foundation in the shade NC37, we're going to create a even base all over the face. I just used, I believe, about 1 to 2 pumps for the entire face, and the key here is to work in layers. So working in thin layers will create a more flawless looking base versus going in with one thick layer. And in order to apply the foundation, I'm using the Real Techniques Beauty Sponge again. For concealer, we are going to be using the same one that we used to prime the lids. And I'm not going directly from the wand, I'm actually putting a little bit on my hand and picking it up with that same beauty sponge. And again, working in layers. The under eyes can crease really quickly, so if you're putting a lot of product down there, it's bound to get creased super fast, and it will just be very thick and cakey under there. So if you experience any darkness near the inner corner of the eyes, just take a fluffy brush and a little bit of leftover concealer and kind of diffuse that concealer in that area. It'll just take away that darkness. For contouring, we are going to be using the Bare Minerals foundation stick in the shade Cinnamon, and we all have a tendency to just draw on the contour, but I like to go directly from the stick with a fluffy brush and start to add little by little. So I like to use the corner of the mouth to the top of the ear as a guideline, but you don't want to pass the corner of the eye while doing contour, because the closer you go to the mouth, the more sunken in your cheeks will look, and that's a look that we don't want to go for. And it's really important to just diffuse the product. You don't want any harsh lines while doing this. To set the face, we are going to use the Mercier translucent setting powder with that same beauty sponge, but we are just going to use a clean side. Now, depending on your skin type, you can either use the baking method or you can just use a light dusting of powder. Here I'm just smoothing out under the eyes first, because once concealer sits there for a little while, it does start to crease. So I will smooth that out first, and then I will apply the powder, but I'm not going to keep it on for too long because I don't want to dry out her skin. For bronzer, we are using the Hoola Benefit Bronzer, and I'm just going to use a angled brush to go over those same areas that we put the contour on. Afterwards, I will just take a big fluffy brush from Real Techniques to just brush away the baking powder, as well as kind of diffuse the contour as well. To finish the under eyes, I'm just going back in with the transition shades, then I'm going in with that darker brown that we used, and finally I'm going to be putting the darker emerald green on the inner and outer corners, and the olive green right in the center of the lower lash line to sort of mimic what we had on top. To finish off the face, I'm going to go in with the Cover FX face palette, and using that peachy shade in the middle, I'm going to use that as blush and apply that on our cheeks. But I did feel like it was a little bit too peachy, so I'm actually going to go in with more of a rosy, coppery toned blush afterwards. For highlight, we are using the Artist Couture Loose Highlight in the shade Diamond Haze, and we're using a fan brush in order to lightly apply that across the tops of the cheekbones. For brows, we're using the Essence Brow Gel in the darkest shade, and we're just lightly brushing that through her brows. She already has really nice brows, so I didn't have to do much. I'm using the Anastasia Dipbrow Pomade in the shade Dark Brown, and the Anastasia No. 7 Angled Brush. Here I'm finishing the eyes off with a matte white highlight in the inner corners. And for lips, we are going to line them with Cork lip liner from MAC. And for lipstick, we are using Velvet Teddy from MAC as well. Lastly, we added the clear lip gloss from MAC over top just to add a little bit of shine. And to finish off the look, we are going in with MAC Fix Plus. And there you have it. This is the finished look. I really like the way it turned out. It was something different that we played around with. And green eyeshadow really does make brown eyes pop. So if you guys haven't tried it already, maybe try this look out. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching.